Welcome into the show, everybody. Your Philadelphia Eagles are a perfect 4-0 with imperfect play. They say they have a lot to clean up, but what a game that was yesterday. I had given you my 33 to what did I give you? 33 to 13. That obviously didn't happen. Sam Howell can ball out. Go figure. That was a little bit more surprising. That was surprising. Very surprising, as a matter of fact. We got so much to dissect. This was one of those games that when it was all said and done, and I'm walking onto the set we were on the Battleship, New Jersey yesterday for the Jacob Media postgame show. And it was one of those things that I grabbed the microphone and I think to myself, what the hell just happened? There was so much that happened in that football game yesterday. I was really trying to put it in its own little drawer in my brain to understand what exactly happened, because you had some incredibly clutch throws from Jalen Hurts, and that was the buzzword postgame with Nick Sirianni. We'll hear from him momentarily when it comes to everything that went on in that football field, from Jalen Hurts, from his runs to his throws to everything. It broke off one big run there in the fourth quarter that helped the Eagles out tremendously, at least in getting a first down. Then had clutch throw after clutch throw to A.J. Brown, of course, and then had a clutch throw to Devontae Smith. I give a huge tip of the cap to Devontae Smith for what he was able to do at the end of that first half, and we'll get to that conversation. And then DeAndre Swift being able to run the ball as well as he was able to run the ball in the early goings of this game. And then in the second half, not so much. Kind of went away from that. Didn't understand that. I thought we saw the best and the worst of Brian Johnson in this call. Now, the end of regulation, with about 1:40 left on the clock, minute 39, Jalen Hurts throws that ball up to A.J. Brown. I'm going to take you through, on the show today, my emotions through every millisecond of that play, because there was a wide range of them. Talk about a lot to unpack. In just a 5-second play, I have like a million thoughts just about that one particular play and about a 1,000 different types of emotions I was feeling throughout that entire play as it progressed. So we'll get to that as well. But throughout this game, Brian Johnson, I thought you saw the best of him, and I thought you saw the worst of him in this one. And I'll start it off with him. The first thing I'll get into with this game is the fake screen to Dallas Goedert that allowed A.J. Brown to break for that 59-yard touchdown. That was the best play call I have seen from Brian Johnson, because time and time again, and I would bring it inside baseball a little bit. All right, bring it behind the curtain. When Jalen Hurts is consistently checking down to those bubble screens, whether they be for a tight end, whether they be for a wide receiver, tight end screen, whatever on the outside, Seth Joyner is in our green room yelling, fake it, fake it, fake one of those. You run those enough where they really think that's the play. You have them going one way, now hit them on the other side. Hit them with something different. And sure enough, they get that ball. Jalen Hurts gets the snap, turns, looks at Dallas Goedert, and then he just hits A.J. Brown in stride for the 59-yard touchdown. That was beautiful, the way they set that up, the way they executed it, the way they ran it. They got the corners crossing up, but then A.J. Brown being able to book it across the field for the touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus, oh my, he showed me so much in this game and so much on that particular play, busting it down the line or busting it down the field to be able to make blocks for A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown did a wonderful job of being able to read those blocks, and he showed patience before he showed the aggression to finally get into that end zone for that touchdown. That was incredible, and the Eagles needed that to help them start things off in the third quarter. They got points out of that drive. They get points at the end of the first quarter, get the ball back, get points again, get a good defensive stand, and then they're able to come back and get even more points to go up 21-17 after that touchdown and after they got the 2-point conversion with Kenny Gainwell running up the middle for the 2 points. When I saw that happen, I thought, they got this. Okay, now the momentum is officially turned in the Eagles' favor. They were shutting down Washington for the last couple of possessions that they had, and momentum was really starting to swing in favor of the Eagles. Before the half, they get the big play to Devontae Smith. They get 3 points from Jake Elliott. Then they get they get 3 more points from Jake Elliott coming out of the half. They get the touchdown. They go that basically 13-0 run that they had right there, and I thought, this is all well and good. They get another field goal, and I thought, all right, this is good. But it was after that final field goal, that gave him 24 points in this game, when Washington was able to hold them to just a field goal. I thought, this is where you're going to be changing things up. This is where the momentum isn't exactly all on the Eagles' side, unfortunately. The fact that they weren't able to get that touchdown, weren't able to get that final touchdown, weren't able to punch it in before the A.J. Brown play at the end of the game, we'll get to that. That made me go, this ain't over yet. This is not over. You had a 24-17 lead. For whatever reason, now this is where the worst of Brian Johnson comes in. And look, it's a 3rd and long play, so I'm sure it's not just Brian Johnson. I'm sure that Nick Sirianni has a lot to say about this, but it's a 3rd and 11 play, and they run right with Kenny Gainwell, who actually fumbles the football, and needless to say, they don't get the first down. It's stuffed I think it was even a loss, as a matter of fact. But it was an awful play call. After the game, Nick Sirianni was asked about it, like, hey, what the hell happened on that? And he goes, hey, last week against Tampa, we had a 3rd and 8. We converted on that play. And 3rd and 11, we did it. If we convert on 3rd and 11, we're high-five. And if we don't, then we're disappointed. Here's what I don't understand. Kenny Gainwell is not the running back to make that clutch play. You want to use the word clutch over and over again, talking about it after the game. That's not your clutch performer. If you're going to run a 3rd and 11, as much as I don't like the play call, again, I don't like the personnel even more. If you go to the 4th and 2 they had against Tampa, where they had Kenny Gainwell up the middle and they didn't convert on that, they didn't even have the DeAndre Swift, that doesn't make any damn sense either. The play call is a bad play call. The personnel is confounding. Like, if you want to try to convert on what is going to be a very difficult conversion, 3rd and 12, and you want to run the football, first up, I don't like it. Second off, you don't even have your best personnel out there. There's no explaining that away. That's just dumb. I hate that. I hated it. I didn't like it when they had Kenny Gainwell in there for the 4th and 2 against Tampa in the first drive of that game. I didn't like it yesterday in the 4th quarter when they had Kenny Gainwell run to the outside on a 4th and 11. You could say Nick Sirianni, but I mean, Brian Johnson's a play caller. He calls the play, and that did not look like the right way to go about it. And when Nick Sirianni was asked about it, this is why you got to ask questions like this at press conference. Some people are going, well, what was he going to say? The way he answered the question at least lets you know that it wasn't a check at the line of scrimmage, or we thought we saw something there, so we checked out, to this. No, that was a play call from the start. They ran it from the start. The last play of the game, or the last play the Eagles had in regulation, I should say, the touchdown to A.J. Brown. Let's dissect that, all right? By the way, I haven't said it yet, but I'm very happy that the Eagles won. So, anyway, here's my wide range of emotions throughout that play. About 1:40 left in the game. 2nd and 4. Jalen Hurts surveys the field, likes what he sees, and thinks he's got a shot to A.J. Brown here. As I saw him bringing the football back, now, Washington, important to note, Washington had 1 timeout left. So you have the ability to burn clock. You have the ability to let time tick away with that 1 timeout that they had. And the book, the great big book of football do's and don'ts, is you don't throw the ball there. You continue to bleed the clock. So I see Jalen Hurts start to hurl back, start to cock that arm back to let something rip. And I go, no. And then I see the ball flying through the air, and I'm like, oh, God. And then I see A.J. Brown beating his corner, beating the defensive back, and it's single coverage. And I go, okay, I can see why you would throw that. That makes sense. And I see him come down for the touchdown, and I go, all right, you know what? You get an opportunity to put 7 up on the board. You put 7 up on the board. I like that the defense is going to be able to stop this offense. They got 1:40 left to try to stop them. This is great. It went against the grain of all things football, but I didn't mind it because you had a chance to put up 7 late in the game to go up a touchdown as opposed to just a field goal. I was fine with it. Then A.J. Brown, in this very specific case, I was fine with it. Then A.J. Brown gets the taunting penalty. And pretty much everything after that in regulation sucked big time. Think about it like this. The penalty ends up being a 11-yard penalty. Now, you might say, well, it's not how it's enforced, but they bring the ball out to the 36-yard line. Okay, Washington brings the ball out to the 36-yard line. So it's 11, as opposed to just getting a regular old touchback and starting at the 25. Because of the penalty, they're able to return it to the 36-yard line. So it ends up being an 11-yard advancement. Okay, 11-yard penalty. With that, they're able to move that ball up. They're able to, keep in mind, just barely get into the end zone at the end of that drive to tie things up. And somehow, amazingly, Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, remember that moniker, decides not to go for two. After the game, he would say his players were gassed. They just didn't have it in them. He wasn't going to ask them to go for two. They needed a break. They needed to go in overtime. If you remember, last year, game one of the season, the New York Giants were playing the Tennessee Titans. And Brian Dable looked at his team. They scored a touchdown. It's 20-19. Looks at his team and says, who wants to go for it? Everyone to a man goes, we're going to go for it. They go for it. They get the 2-point conversion. They go up 21-20, and they win. Brian Dable goes on Coach of the Year. I was shocked that Ron Rivera, at that moment, after that drive from that team, and the way they played all game, Sam Howell was sacked 5 times yesterday, and you would never know it by the way he was playing. He was playing like a 10-year vet yesterday. Scrambling for first downs, making big throws on third down. This is my biggest pet peeve of the game because if you don't get off the field third down, it's such a shot to the you-know-what. 8 for 17 yesterday. The Washington Commanders converted 8 of their 17 third down attempts. We're talking damn near, that's 47%, north of 47%. That's horrible. That is dreadful. You couldn't get off the field against this team. And I know the Buffalo Bills, man, they were on fire yesterday. They were beating up on the Dolphins. That was an incredible game. But the Buffalo Bills absolutely took it to Sam Howell. The Buffalo Bills picked him off. The Buffalo Bills hit him 15 times. They sacked him 9 times. They just dominated. And this Eagles defensive line, these Eagles pass rushers still get after him. And he just brushed himself up, picks himself up, brushed himself off, and just started throwing touchdowns. Started moving the ball downfield every single time. It was a sight to be seen. Now, in my objective point of view, when I put the objective hat on for a second, I went, this guy can ball, man. Good for him. He's playing better than I thought he was going to play in this game. And it was still the defensive line and this Hassan Reddick, for instance, getting his first sack. Nicholas Morrow getting 3 of those sacks. Josh Sweat getting a sack. And even though that was him, Sam Howell tripping over his own lineman, but whatever, Josh Sweat was right there to make the play. He's right there to make sure he got the number, okay? But throughout the game, I was just very much impressed by him. But with all that being said, what the hell were the Eagles doing on third down? Josh Jobe, I give him a lot of credit for most of the plays that he was in on yesterday. Yes, he allowed the catches. He was right there with some good coverage. There's 2 throws early to McLaurin that he was right on him for. The play in the end zone to tie things up before the extra point tied the score to force overtime. He was right there. Just, I don't understand the defensive call. I don't know. How are you in the end zone? I don't know. It just looked like it was really bad positioning by every defensive back for the most part on that particular play. And I don't get it. I think Sean Desai has done a good job this year. I've been very impressed with him. I've been impressed with his aggressiveness, his ability to send blitzes. I should say not his ability, but he doesn't have a reluctance to send a blitz. He ain't scared. He doesn't call plays scared. And I appreciate that, but I didn't understand letting 3 yards between you and the front of the end zone when you know they're going to the end zone. Didn't make any damn sense to me. But for the most part, I thought Josh Jobe played well, but the best view of that touchdown, unfortunately, to tie things up and force overtime. But the biggest thing to me is just the third down conversions that the Eagles just weren't able to get off the field for time and time and time again. I don't know where you guys are at on that touchdown to A.J. Brown, but just to get into that for a second here. The great big book of football rules, do's and don'ts. They did something they shouldn't have. You bleed the clock. You make them burn their timeout. You continue to move down the field. My only thing was you don't know what's going to happen if you're trying to run the football. You could fumble, and there's other things that could happen. It's not like it's a guaranteed thing, but it's the closest thing to a guarantee. When the ball was flying through the air, I didn't like it. I saw then the coverage and how A.J. Brown had it beat, and I went, all right, well, you're going to get 7 points here, and, I trust this defense to make a stop here. Only one timeout for Washington. I didn't have a problem. And then as time went on, literally the next second after the ball crosses the goal line in A.J. Brown's hands and he gets the taunting penalty, I thought, this isn't going to end well. And sure enough, it didn't. They forced overtime. Now, in overtime, Eagles were able to get into position, and I got to give a huge hat tip to Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott, going into Sunday night's game, and I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of last night's game, unfortunately. I know there was a controversial call. I'll go back and look at it. But going into last night's game, Jake Elliott's one of only 3 kickers in the NFL with 3 50-plus yard field goals. And he gets this one yesterday at 54 yards. Before the half, I mean, he was money by getting you those points. I mean, Devontae Smith sets you up for the field goal. And then Jake Elliott, after they weren't able to get anything after that big catch by Devontae Smith at the end of the first half, Jake Elliott catches it in for 3, comes out after the half, gets you another 3 points, and then, of course, comes out, gets you another 3, and then, of course, comes out in overtime, and then drills that 54-yarder to make you a 4-0 football team. It's an imperfect 4-0. You look at some of the teams that Washington has played, like the Bills, for instance. You look at what Dallas was able to do yesterday against the Patriots, leading to, a benching of Mac Jones. You look at teams around the NFL that have been dominant teams. The Eagles have yet to look like a dominant team, and they're 4-0. After the Dolphins go down yesterday, what is it, just 2 teams now? San Francisco and the Eagles? Holy Lord. Just the way they scripted it, right? But I'd like to see the Eagles dominate. I thought this was going to be the Eagles' dominant game. Now, they dominated the Buccaneers game. But even looking at that game, Jalen Hurts, I thought, had a very up-and-down game. When he was up in that game, he was way up. And it was like a possession-by-possession thing. It wasn't a typical, it was a tale of 2 halves. Jalen Hurts couldn't get the offense couldn't get anything going to the first half. Second half, they were dominant. No, it was like by possession in that Buccaneers game. This game, for me, I thought Jalen Hurts was fantastic. I mean, there were some crisp throws that he was making throughout that game. We talked about the Brian Johnson play call on the fake screen to Dallas Goedert that ended up being the 59-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown. Coming out of half, they had that great throw down the sideline right in the breadbasket to A.J. Brown. The throw to Devontae Smith before halftime, that was 50-50 ball is, I think, putting it kindly, considering it looked like triple coverage. But A.J. Brown went up and he made a play for his quarterback. Olamide Zaccheaus getting that 3rd down conversion on the 3rd and 7, I want to say it was, in the 4th quarter to help things keep going there for the Eagles. That was a huge play. That his receiver made a good catch, but he put the ball right there for him. There was another play where the throw was a little low. Zaccheaus let it go through his hands. That was one instance where a receiver wasn't able to make a play for him. But really throughout this game, I thought Jalen Hurts just played his best game of the season by far. And that's the type of quarterback that I would like to see going forward from the Eagles. If he continues to play like that, and the defense plays more of how they played in the earlier goings of the season, the first 3 games of the season, for instance, then, yeah, this team is going to be looking pretty and playing at that Super Bowl caliber that we're all waiting for. And that's not hypercritical. That's not a longing to be negative. That's just simply a reality. And when you listen to Jason Kelce, and you listen to Jalen Hurts, and you listen to Nick Sirianni. I mean, Nick Sirianni talked about instances yesterday as if they were teaching moments. He usually literally said teaching moment. I believe one of the instances he talked about with the teaching moment was the throw to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown said, I shouldn't have done that. And then, by the way, he was getting tested for PEDs and getting a drug test, getting a drug test after yesterday's game, as that news came out yesterday. But overall, you're still longing for the perfect game. You always know you're not going to play the perfect game, even if the Eagles blow a team out 41-10 or something like that. Even if they do that, there's still going to be that one throw that maybe in the first quarter, Jalen Hurts missed a wide open Devontae Smith in the corner of the end zone that would have been a touchdown, and he just overthrew it. There's going to be that. It might look like it 41-10, pretty good, but there's still going to be things you can nitpick at as the game goes on. And yesterday, there was definitely a lot of meat left on the bone, especially when it came to those 3rd down conversions that the Eagles just kept allowing. And it was just frustrating as all get out. And by the way, thank goodness that Reed Blankenship's forearm. I don't know what Reed Blankenship does for those forearms, man. Let's just say it's one of them squeezing tension things, right? That forearm's not as bulked up as it is. That who was it? It wasn't McLaurin. Who was it that came down with it? They come down in inbounds. It's a whole different ballgame. So credit to him for that. Absolutely wild game yesterday. I'm still processing it because I can't believe everything. And the other thing is with a 1:00 game, you're left more time to be like, what the hell just happened? And then you really try to dissect it and try to figure it out. For me, I don't know why. I mean, you look at it, DeAndre Swift had 6 carries in the first half. He ended up with 14 overall. If they were struggling and their defense was struggling to get stops and their defense was struggling to get off the field, I understand that they were cooking offensively in the passing game yesterday. I just don't understand how DeAndre Swift didn't see the ball more. If I had, other than what I've just laid out for you, the big critique I would have offensively. And, oh, by the way, timeout there. On Brian Johnson, it looked like Jalen Hurts on that A.J. Brown touchdown throw, the final touchdown of the game for the Eagles. It looked like that was a checked play. It didn't look like that was necessarily a Brian Johnson call. It looked like Jalen Hurts saw something he liked, and he went for it. And it ended up working out in terms of getting the score. I'll let you hear from Jalen, and we'll let you hear from Nick Sirianni coming up in just a second. Of course, we're going to be checking in with all you wonderful people here on the chat check, as we normally do here on the Farzy Show. We're going to get in that conversation with everything going on with the Eagles and everything going on, of course, with your beloved Philadelphia Phillies being able to wrap up a playoff or not a playoff appearance, but wrap up the season with 90 wins and Alec Boehm getting his 20th home run of the season. So absolutely love to see that. Before we go any further, let's get into this conversation here and all that went down yesterday with the Eagles after the game. First off, let's talk about what went down between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and what Nick Sirianni saw on that play as it developed. Here's the way it went yesterday.
A little more. Sometimes you play, the main goal is to score, right? Sometimes it happens where, we ended up getting a big play. We saw a corner that was aggressive. We took an opportunity there, and it worked. Jalen and AJ made a great play. Obviously, and so you go in there and score. What you don't want is the penalty to give them the extra 15 yards. AJ obviously was apologetic about that coming off the field. A lot of emotions in that game. We'll definitely learn from that.
Learning moment. I generally speaking, I agree. As I took you through the emotions, I agree. You have an opportunity to put up 7 points, you put up 7 points. In that particular instance, by the book, you bleed the clock. You know what it reminded me of? In an odd way, it reminded me of another game against the Commanders 2 years ago. Remember our boy Nigel Bradham? Remember that guy? Huh? He had the pick 6 for the backdoor cover against Washington 2 years ago. He ran it back. The Eagles were already up. They were winning, and he ran it back for the pick 6. I think it was a pick 6. Maybe it was a scoop and score. I can't remember exactly, but he gets the turnover. In that play, you don't take it to the house to score. In that play, you pick up the football, you get the football, you secure the football, and you get down, you give the ball to the offense to bleed the clock. It's similar. Not identical, but similar. That's what the Eagles should have done yesterday. Looking back on it, yeah, damn right, that's what the if you would have told me they were going to give a 15-yard penalty, essentially it being an 11-yard penalty, I would definitely hold back on that throw. But you have 7 points staring you in the face. It's not wasting time for a field goal or giving the opportunity. We're going to be held to a field goal like you had. You just say, to hell with it. We're going to end this with getting a touchdown, and the defense is going to do their job. Unfortunately, the defense did not do their job, and the defense allowed them to go down the field and score. That was rough. I mentioned the third downs. That was obviously a huge thing. The other thing that bothered me so much was the 11 penalties with this Eagles team yesterday. 11 penalties. A couple were, I would say, either ticky-tack or not as hurtful as they would normally be. For instance, Terrell Edmonds' unnecessary roughness, the helmet-to-helmet hit that he had on Logan Thomas in the middle of the field that set up their second touchdown of the game. That was not a ticky-tack call, but it ended up only being a 1.5 yard penalty. I had a bigger problem with Terrell Edmonds dropping the interception in the end zone. I had a bigger problem that Brian Robinson fumbled the football, and then Terry McLaurin fell on it when the Eagles had an opportunity to follow. So you had two opportunities to take the ball away, not just in the red zone, but in the end zone to negate a touchdown by Washington, and the Eagles failed to come up with that football twice. So that was a problem. But then we go to the penalties here, and then Terrell Edmonds had another penalty, the late hit on Sam Howell as he was going out of bounds. That was a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing, because Sam Howell, any quarterback is going to be reaching to try to get that first down. He stepped out of bounds. Edmonds made the hit. It's a bang-bang play. The way the game's called nowadays, you just got to let him have the first down, essentially. That's the way the game's called. It's unfortunate, but if you're in Terrell Edmonds' situation, if you're in his shoes on that play, the whole training, your whole life is make that hit. Don't let him get the first down. He steps out of bounds. He doesn't even reach for the first down, but he steps out of bounds, then you hit him, and you get flagged for it. Ends up being a huge penalty. So that was obviously unfortunate. That was early in the fourth quarter. It was on a 3rd and 4 play, and it ended up leading on a long touchdown drive. Ended up being that second Robinson touchdown. Or first Robinson touchdown, excuse me. So he's kind of between Terrell Edmonds is kind of between a rock and a hard place on that particular play. But that's the way it's called. The other was the Landon Dickerson play, where they line up for the brotherly shove, and Landon Dickerson gets called for a offsides. Washington's nose tackle was over the football as well. Bill Colarulo made an interesting point from Legal Hands to the Face podcast, also one of our co-hosts for Jacob Media on the game day coverage. And one of the things that he had gotten into was, is this the way they're going to unofficially stop the brotherly shove? Is this the way they're going to do it? By just calling ticky-tack little penalties like this? Oh, he's lining up wrong. Like, I'm going to be paying a lot more attention now to where these guys are lined up, because if that's the way they wanted the game. Now, the Eagles, on 2 different occasions, they tried it again, and it ended up working. One particular instance was Jalen Hurts actually pulling out of the brotherly shove, running it to the outside. Thought that was an interesting thing. And then the other, I think it was the last one they ran, was it Olamide Zaccheaus? No, it was DeAndre Swift. No, it was Zaccheaus. Zaccheaus, picked up Jalen Hurts and carried him for the first down. That should be illegal. All right, of all the ones I've seen, that was the most illegalist of them all, by far. That one shouldn't be allowed. Everything else, I'm fine with. Everything else I'm fine with. Everything else was fine. But that was the only one. All right, so to continue to dissect what the Eagles had going on yesterday, we talked about the late touchdown there. That's a learning moment there, according to Nick Sirianni. But overall, this is the way Nick Sirianni described his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, yesterday in his performance.
Clutch. Just clutch. I think that's the best way to say it. Whether it was the overtime drive, whether it was the drive where we scored with about a minute plus left, I just felt like what it was. Hey, we didn't have a lot of possessions in the first half, and we needed that. We needed that end of half drive to get going. Clutch. That's. I think that's the best way to say it, Marcus. I thought that's where he was.
I would agree with that. And you could certainly argue the last play the Eagles had of regulation there. But in total, 25 for 37 for 319 yards for Jalen Hurts yesterday with a 112 passer rating. He was sacked 3 times yesterday. He was also able to break off a couple of runs, ran for 34 yards. His longest was that 24-yard run that he had in the I thought I wrote that down on my notes. I think it was in the early goings of the fourth quarter, about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He had the big scramble for 24 yards. All in all, I thought he played a great game. You can certainly question that decision. He had an opportunity to put up points, thought, let me get 7 now and I'll trust the defense. In retrospect, the defense couldn't be trusted yesterday. On the other side of the football, Sam Howell, 29 of 31 for 290. Had a touchdown throw, had a 98 pass rating, 98.6 actually. And he was able to complete passes to a ton of receivers yesterday. So a lot of guys got open for him. Just absolutely played like a vet yesterday. He really impressed me. I don't believe after a game, you got to tip your cap. But in this case, you got to tip your cap to him. He played a hell of a game. Eagles defense got to him, like I said, 15 times yesterday to bring him down for 5 times yesterday. Brought him down 5 sacks they had on him, and he just shook each and every one of them off and just made the throw the next play. Speaking of sacks, by the way, I mentioned Nicholas Morrow, I mentioned Josh Sweat, I mentioned Hassan Reddick, but in all seriousness, Hassan Reddick went into this game, as we know, without even showing up in the stat sheet last week, Monday night, right? He comes out in this game, doesn't have the cast on his hand, gets into the backfield, makes a huge sack in the fourth quarter that ended up setting up a 3rd and 17 before another penalty, and they were forced to punt. They get that done. Eagles come down. They get that touchdown. Zaccheaus actually makes the 3rd and 7 play. He makes a 3rd and 7 reception, puts the ball on the ground, but is able to recover. And that leads to another field goal. So Hassan Reddick's sack came up huge. You want to talk about clutch? That was a clutch situation. Pushes them back to that 3rd and 17. They later then got a false start, pushes them to a 3rd and 22. They're unable to convert. Then you get the ball back for the Eagles. You get the 3rd down conversion to Zaccheaus, and then you get the field goal. So Hassan Reddick was directly linked to all that, and that made the Eagles sit there a little bit more comfortably before they allowed that big play there to A.J. Brown, and then later the big touchdown to tie things up to force overtime at 31 apiece there for the Eagles before they go on for their 34-31 victory. One more thing. We've talked about how this team still needs to improve. We talked about how this team needs to continue to fight, how this team needs to still learn, and how if they play some better opponents, they don't get away with some of the mistakes they made. Here is what Nick Sirianni had to say post-game about his team's 4-0 start to the season, but still a lot of meat on the bone there to protect.
You know, I think we are truly a team that's in a growth mindset that, you know, we're happy, you know, to be 4-0, but we know that there's work to do. You know, even talking to Jason Kelsey after the game, he's like, I'm like, we're 4-0, let's go. And, you know, even he said, like, yeah, I know we got a lot to clean up. And he's right. We got a lot to clean up. And so there's a gratification that we're 4-0, but there's a hunger to grow.
Wow. Look, if... It really does feel weird to talk about a 4-0 football team and be like, yeah, but what the hell, man? Like, hey, I think the most encouraging thing is that they have faced 4 different opponents. They have won all those games. They have had struggles in 3 of the 4 games. The game against the Bucs, it was the most dominant. What was it, 25-11? It was the most dominant 2-touchdown win I've seen. Okay. But they're sitting here at 4-0, and it's the perfect for someone that really likes talking football. And if you're someone who really likes talking football, there's a lot of nitty-gritty details you could talk about when it comes to this football team and how they have won their games, how they have improved to 4-0. We could break down the A.J. Brown touchdown at the end of regulation. Well, the end of the Eagles, the last touchdown the Eagles had in the game. We could talk about the brotherly shove. We could talk about not being good off the field on third down. We could talk about 11 penalties in this game. We could talk about untimely turnovers. We could talk about bad throws. We could talk about, one thing that really hasn't burned the Eagles this year is drops. I feel like that's usually a big sticky point. Well, they just hold on to the football. Yeah. They've run the ball really well. I don't know why they got away from it as much as they did in the second half, but that's just the direction they decided to go. It's one thing. Talk about a guy like DeAndre Swift, as I mentioned. You start off this game, he finishes with 14 rushing attempts. He had 6 runs in the first half. You could say that they upped it to 8 in the second, but it feels like he should have, with all the plays you're able to run, it feels like he should have touched the ball a little bit more. They tried a screen play to him once. He did have 7 catches yesterday for 78 yards. That's good. But it just looked like the thing that bothers me about the screen game, and I hate it when Andy Reid would say this. Andy Reid would always say, those screen plays, they're like runs. Yeah, you know what's funny about it, though? They're not. They're not runs. They are still pass plays. And you're not giving your offensive line. You talk about putting your players in the best position to make a play. Your offensive line are in the best position. Your offensive linemen are in the best position to make a play when they're at the line of scrimmage. Not necessarily when they're down the field trying to make a block or they're running out to make a block on a screen or something like that. But when they're just getting off the line of scrimmage, when the ball is snapped and they're just getting off the line of scrimmage right there, and you have Jason Kelsey pulling to make a block, or you have Landon Dickerson pulling to make a block, or whoever it might, Cam Jurgens, who got hurt and hopefully is fine and dandy, but we'll see. When you have those guys, that's the best position they could be in for you to make a play. That's the best possible position. So although screen plays and pass plays and throwing to DeAndre Swift, I'm all for it. But man, when you're able to run the ball down the throats of your opponent, go for it. Just keep doing it. That's your bread and butter. One thing I saw a little bit more of yesterday that I haven't really seen much of with this Eagles team is the RPO. I absolutely felt like there was a lot more RPO in yesterday's game, particularly in that first half. And I'm fine with that. That I feel. And look, you saw. I thought you saw more RPOs. At least felt like you saw more RPOs than you had really all season. Running the ball and the RPO have been, I think, what has made this team a great success over the last 21 regular season games and into the playoffs. I don't mind seeing that more and more as the season goes on. And if that's something that Brian Johnson was trying to get away from to use it later in the season, it kind of looks like your offense needs that for consistency. And Jalen Hurts, to his credit, man, he was on the money. He was on the money, making those reads and making those throws. He was in such a great rhythm yesterday. It was the best we've seen him as a all-around quarterback in quite some time. Really liked to see that. And I don't think he's sucked this year by any means. We just haven't seen him play to the incredible level that he was at. Like I said, in the Bucs game, it was really possession by possession. It was like, oh, there's Jalen Hurts, the MVP. Oh, that's not Jalen Hurts. Oh, there's Jalen Hurts, the MVP. It was kind of going back and forth like that. So I'm glad to see that as the game went on. Finally, let's hear from Jalen Hurts himself about where the team stands right now at 4-0.
Yeah, I think it's reassuring. You know, I think it's reassuring for us, and I think more so, man. When you, like I said, when you feel those moments, they build so much character for you. That's I'm hammering in on that. It builds so much character, and I think that can mold the character of this team to trend forward and continue to grow. And I think we all have the mentality of looking at it and growing. You know, and no one's satisfied. You know, no one's satisfied. No one's ever satisfied. You know, I'm never satisfied, but winning is the only thing that matters, and we'll enjoy those wins because we earned them.
If you're going into the workplace today, if you're on your Zoom call today, if whatever it is, something's going on today, if something like that's going down today, and someone's like, they're 4-0, whatever, just be like, yeah, 4-0, but never satisfied. Yeah, that's right, 4-0, but never satisfied. Love the guy's mindset. Absolutely love it. Let's get into the chat. Well, first, let me tell you about MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Make sure you put in there promo code Farzy at MyBookie.ag. Presenting sponsor of the Farzy Show, MyBookie. Go to MyBookie.ag for more information. Let's get into the chat check here. Going to start it off on the Farzy Show chat. What's going on, guys? April, Sean. That game was much more of a roller coaster than it should have been. I concur. Sean Gillespie. Eagles have to clean up those penalties. Coaches must stress this. I agree with you on that. A.J. Brown is the fifth Eagle since 1970 to record 130 receiving yards in back-to-back games. That's fascinating, Sean Kilray. Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson, Mike Quick. Oh, my goodness. And Harold Jackson, 1972. Wow. April, I was shocked they didn't go for two. I couldn't believe it. You really want to take your chances in overtime? Apparently they were gassed. That's all you can really say about it. And that's what the Riverboat Ron had to say about it. My team was tired. I don't know, man. I think if you're a football player, you're getting up for that moment, man. We were all saying it. Me, Gunner, I think Seth was saying it too. You know, if they score a touchdown, they're going to go for two, right? Got to keep running the game. Absolutely. Fuji, what's up, Mike Fuji? Mihai Sanchez. Was Jalen Carter hurt yesterday? He didn't have a huge game, but he definitely was taken up. He was, look, 5-sack game. Defensive line went to work yesterday. Your linebackers being able to get in the backfield and make plays, they went to work yesterday. And a lot of that was because Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter were taking up a lot of push there in that middle of the line of scrimmage. Eagles win. Division games are tough. Speaking of which, Marlins are going to give the Phillies everything they can handle. Yeah, I am not excited about – I still have the Phillies winning, but I am not excited about seeing the Marlins. I'm not at all excited about seeing the Marlins. Let me just tell you that right out of the gate. Let me see here. Fujigiri, Red October. Mara, hell of a game. Says Sean Gillespie. I agree. Let me get over to the Jacob Media YouTube channel. What's up, guys? Oh, you guys are piping hot today. Farzy can't bet the bar. Farzy, are you worried about the damn fit? Well, there you go. Yes, I am. If Hal did that, you would just wait until Purdy. What? Oh, if Hal came back. Yeah, I understand. Niners all damn day. Yeah. Kurtz, what's up? All damn day. Dak, Tua, Mahomes, Allen, 2. Then your second half schedule has 5 losses. All right. Reed Blankenship's hand the MVP. Yeah, hand for him. Yeah. As far as you see the Jets, I did not see a lot of it. I saw the early goings of it when it looked like the Chiefs were going to blow them out by 40. See what happens when you start playing good teams. Well, evidence would suggest that the Eagles will just find a way to win because they just find ways to win. Unless they have a massive amount of turnovers, they just find ways to win. Dank, what's up? What a great game. Awesome game. Even better concert? What? Howie needs to get on the phone ASAP. We need to seal up the secondary. Yeah, Darius Slay, not his best game. Refs literally tried handing Washington that game. I would assume they were rooting for a closer game. Every other play was damn flag. Literally on the ball, Washington told the refs that the Eagles were lining up wrong. That's wonderful. If you watch the Chiefs, BRRR, what's up? Watching the Chiefs-Jets game, refs are dirty. I'm going to watch that game today. The second half. I watched most of the first half yesterday. King Pooty TV, go Phils. I saw the highlight. Okay. I got to buy Jake Elliott jersey now for real. The man's clutch. Talk about clutch. The man's clutch. Elliott is best place kicker in the league. Certainly feels like that. Why is nobody calling Burrow injury prone or overrated? That's a great point, man. Burrow has looked like, what's the word? Ass. He has looked like straight up ass. Like they got the calf injury. In that case, sit out, friend. Sit out there, fella. Boop. Hurts' best pass of the game was that throw to Zacchaeus. That was a money throw, man. The one on 3rd and 4. Yeah, that was 3rd and 7. Yeah, where they converted. That was great. Hurts, King Pooty TV. Taylor Swift is boosting ready. I'm telling you right now, folks. I hope you caught my explanation of it yesterday, but literally, the NFL, they have the ability right now on sports sites, everyone, to get clicks, get those unique clicks. Talk about Taylor Swift. I'd rather talk about Ryan Reynolds being there. And I think Hugh Jackman was there too. The Mr. Showman himself. And Blake Lively, lovely lady. That was a jam-packed luxury suite. Hurts had some great throws yesterday. Best he's looked all year. I totally agree with that. Robert M, because we have to have a better roster, annihilated against good quarterbacks. Yeah. Slay was washed. Oh, man, I hope not. Bradbury, Reed is the best player in the secondary. He's been playing like the best player in the secondary. That's who said that? Eagles fan. There you go. Desai has them playing off because they're not fast enough. That is a concern. They were playing off consistently throughout that game. Can't wait until we lose our first game so we can get this 4-0 crab over with from last year. Yeah. Thank God it's only week 4. We have plenty of time. Yeah, to correct. Absolutely. You guys are piping hot in this chat. If I hear Taylor Swift one more time, hey, man, just got to Daz. If you hear Taylor Swift one more time, you just got to shake it off. Know what I'm saying? Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Real quick on the Phillies. I got to get to this. I got to get out of here early, unfortunately, today, ladies and gentlemen. But I am so damn excited for playoff baseball to start tomorrow. 8:08 start time, by the way, for the Phillies. 2 great things happened yesterday. Phillies made it in terms of baseball with the Phillies. Phillies got 90 wins. First time since 2011. It's been a long time coming. And after that, you know what else happened yesterday? Alec Boehm got his 20th home run of the season. That is by far the best thing. Phillies, look, getting 90 wins is a nice number, okay? But it's a milestone for Alec Boehm, a guy that you're sitting and waiting for to develop into hopefully a power-hitting third baseman. 20 home runs is a good start to being a power-hitting third baseman. And seeing him be able to get to that milestone yesterday was a great thing. I've talked about it a lot. Rob Thompson talked about it the other day as well, how he wanted to see Alec Boehm get to that milestone, and he got to that milestone yesterday. So very happy to see that. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for everyone on the podcast. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, both the Farzy Show on Jacob Media, and also thank the Farzy Show, or like the Farzy Show on the Farzy Show YouTube channel as well. Have a great rest of your day. Great rest of your day, everybody. Jim Hyden produced the program. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll talk some Eagles football, of course, and get you ready for